Welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. On today's podcast, we're joined by Gemma Hobbs. And we learned about Gemma when her aunt Maxine reached out to us to tell us her incredible story. She's living with a brain tumor, but Gemma is a true warrior, showing her three girls how to be strong against adversity and using fitness to show people what is possible. She's qualified for the Hyrox World Champs in Nice. I think it's about 5 weeks away now. So we're looking forward to see how she gets on there. Welcome to the podcast, Gemma.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a bit of an introduction as well.
Oh, it's amazing to have you on, and we love it when people give us suggestions as well. So as soon as we got the message, we were like, yes, we definitely need to reach out and hear your story. So do you want to start by giving the listeners a bit of an insight into your journey and how you found Hyrox in the first place, especially after living with a brain tumor?
Yeah, and I want to add a caveat as well that this is a little bit of I've listened to your podcast before, and there's been some incredible people on, so I feel a little bit like an imposter being here. But yeah, it's
absolutely not.
Yeah,
the whole podcast is about speaking to the whole community from Hyrox, and you're sitting there with a bag of
like Tyson on and Zara, and I just like Jake Williamson. I'm like, God, these people I hold on a pedestal.
And now Gemma Hobbs.
And then, hi. I apologise if this is probably a little bit of a sidebar conversation as well, but I appreciate the time to kind of share my story. So I've always been into fitness. I've never been able to sit still. I grew up with a brother. We were always playing sports and that kind of thing. So it's always been quite a big part of my life, and quite an important part of my life, from obviously keeping physically fit, but also kind of mentally sound as well. And then in sort of 2021, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour, a sphenoorbital meningioma it's called. They're quite a rare brain tumour. And it kind of flipped my entire world upside down. I think many people can talk about being diagnosed with things, and you can witness other people's sort of journeys and stories from the outside, but when you hear those words and receive that kind of news, it kind of initially to me like drained the contrast from my world. It was like black and white. I remember going into when I first sort of learned about what they were going to do about the tumor, because there wasn't a very big period of time between learning I had the tumor, that it was causing all the symptoms I was having, and then being told I was going to have this huge surgical intervention, so a big resection. And I hadn't really mentally prepared myself. I don't think you can ever be prepared for that kind of news. So when you're given that, I remember being told that and walking out of the kind of doctor's office, and I had no idea where I'd parked my car. I literally, the world kind of span, and it took probably a fair few days for me to reorientate myself and kind of get myself back level and be like, right, okay, this is what's happening, and this is how we're going to move forward. So it was a bit of a whirlwind journey. And then, I learned I was going to have this huge resection. So I spoke to my neurosurgeon, and he described sort of having to cut me from the middle of my forehead down to my ear. Wow. And it's a craniotomy, so I hadn't really registered that what they would actually do. So they cut a big hole in your skull and then take that away, and then obviously resect the tumor. But my tumor was in the sphenoorbital meningioma, so it was in the sphenoid wing, which is the structure around the eye here, the orbital cavity, so where your optic nerve sits, and they were the symptoms that I was getting. So I first went to the doctor because I had swelling around my eye and I had some visual disturbances, but I'd always suffered with headaches, but I thought that was part and parcel of sitting at a computer and just having at times quite a high stress job as well. So I just kind of took it as part and parcel. And then the meningioma piece is the part of the brain. So the meninges is the surface of the brain. So it was all in there as well. So the operation was quite an extensive operation where they drilled the sphenoid wing away. So got rid of all the diseased bone, picked the orbital, the tumor out of the orbital cavity, and then took the meninges that was diseased off. So I've got a graft, a bovine graft. Being a vegetarian wasn't the best choice. I've got a bovine graft on the brain, and then a titanium reconstruction where my sphenoid bone was, to give my eye a bit of structure. And that was like 12 hours in surgery. And then I had to have another operation to readjust all the titanium mesh because all the pressures in my eyes were way out of whack, and I couldn't sit up. I was being sick. It was just horrendous. It was a really, really awful time. And I remember the surgeon, when he was describing all of this to me on the phone, he said, "Have you got any questions for me?" And I was thinking, there's only one question on my mind. When can I start training again?
Love it.
Did you really just ask me that? And I was like, oh yeah, I did. So yeah, it was like, that to me was like the bottom. I'd never had a period of time, really like significant period of time, where I'd not done anything. So taking that away from me was just huge. And because that's my ability to kind of just keep level, you know the dramatic impact that exercise has on your mental health and that kind of thing. So not being able to do that was kind of taking away that huge crutch. And then the other side of the operation was that recovery piece. So learning to readjust to my new normal. I still do have quite significant swelling on this side of the brain, still suffer with headaches and stuff, but not generally due to the tumour, more because I've got bits and pieces in my head that really shouldn't be there. So readjusting to that new normal took quite some time. And I had something called oscillopsia, which is where you've got quite bad visual disturbance. So it feels like you're on a boat. Because I'd had the structure of my eye taken away, my eye was kind of moving around. So it was getting a kind of image in there and then moving, getting another image. So it felt like that. And I just thought, I trained and I thought, God, this is pretty horrific. I feel, really sick. So the aeroplane masks. I made myself an eye patch with one of them. So I used to wear those when I was training, and that got rid of the issue, just so that I could carry on. And it was kind of starting at baseline again, which was really frustrating for me. Okay, I've got to build it up slowly, and I did. And but the level of fatigue that you feel after sort of that surgery as well was pretty significant for quite a long period of time. So I had to be really patient with myself to kind of build that back up. So yeah, I kind of put a training regime together that was sort of more body weight and lightweight stuff, and then started to see, with the wonderful powers of the algorithms of Instagram, Hyrox stuff. I was thinking, God, this looks really cool. I like this. I like the hybrid way of training anyway. I just, something kind of clicked when I found that kind of training. And then I thought, I'll never be able to do this. These people are incredible. And I'm not a natural runner, although I've run through my entire life. I'm like above average, I suppose. But, then you've got those people that are up here, and I just look at them and think, how do you do this? And not be injured all the time. So yeah, I kind of saw that. And then I think it was 2022 December, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to sign up. So I signed up. This was at a time when tickets were like easy to get. So the race had been released for a while. It was London Olympia, so I bought a ticket for London Olympia, and then thought, I better start training for this. And then I remember the first compromise run session I did, and I thought, what the hell am I doing? This is horrendous.
And you went straight in, didn't you? You just signed up for a solo to just just do it all,
And that's my attitude, I suppose. Probably like one of the lessons I've come out of it. I've always been really determined and really intrinsically motivated anyway. And I've kind of always, probably a bit of a bad trait is pushing for the next thing. So kind of lifting that bar higher and higher. And I just thought, why not just go all balls in and absolutely go for it? So yeah, I didn't really appreciate the magnitude of the task until I was sort of in it, thinking
on the burpees, like, oh shit.
Yeah, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, you so quickly, if you're turning up every day, and like, I'm really dedicated, really determined, really motivated to do these things. So, and I think having this brain tumor has made me think do you know what, tomorrow is, and people say, oh, tomorrow is not promised. I always see these things they post on Instagram, but I don't think you can genuinely, and still now I'm guilty of, you know, sweating small stuff too much. But when you go through something like that, I think it gives you a little bit of a wake-up call of, you know, tomorrow isn't promised, and you can instantly receive some news that changes the path that you could be going down. So I kind of now think, there's a quote by Hunter S. Thompson, I did screenshot it, and this is kind of like my mantra for life. So life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, a ride. So that's kind of how,
so good.
kind of how I live my life now. And I just think, if I want to do something, if I've got a goal, I just go for it. And I just want to be better every day. I want to give back. So with my work, you know, doing something that's much bigger than me, that makes an impact to other people's lives as well. And I get messages on Instagram from my friends and family and stuff saying, and it's a bit cheesy, and it makes me think a bit, like, makes me go a little bit funny. But they say, you know, you're like my auntie, especially, she's, you inspire me to, you know, get up and do what I need to do. You know, you navigate so much and deal with so much and have gone through so much. So, you know, if I can get up for 10 minutes and move and do what I need to do, then I'll be a better version of myself. So that's kind of really nice to think that I make a difference there as well. Just even if that's one person that thinks, you know what, I can get up and move, and then they feel a little bit better for the rest of the day, then that's it for me. And then obviously the 3 little sproglets that I've got, like setting a positive example to them as well. Yeah, that's big. That's big for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We live by the motto, do it while you can. So very similar. You just need to take the opportunities and push yourself and your body if you can, because you've got the ability to do that, and not everyone does. And that got taken away from you for a period of time, like you said, when you had to go in for your surgery and then the recovery. You know, you missed the training, and that's all that I presume wanted to be able to get back into doing as soon as you could, which is the same as so many people. Or if they get an injury and then they can't train, everyone's like, oh, I just want to get back to it. So you've got to make the most of it whilst you can do it, and take that leap to sign up for were you worried to sign up for your first race?
I've got this really amazing ability to dissociate myself, and I think that came from having the diagnosis, and probably a really unhealthy way to deal with things at times, but just to take myself out of the situation, because I couldn't control what was going on in that process. All I had was turning up in as best a possible situation as I could, healthy, you know, well rested, so that my recovery could be better. So I've kind of developed that as a bit of a skill to dissociate. So when I signed up, I was like, yeah, I kind of didn't give it any thought. And then, like I said, when I started training, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, now this is, I've got to level up here, because this is serious stuff. And like, because many people that I talk to about Hyrox, when they're like, oh, what is it? Because they say Hyrox, is it climbing? I'm like, no. Nothing to do with climbing. It's this 1K run, and they're like, oh, 1K is quite easy.
Yeah.
No. You try doing that when you've pushed a sled that's like 150 odd kilos, like when your legs are blowing up.
On paper, it looks quite like, oh, that's not too bad. But actually, when you do it as a whole, it's quite interesting. And it's not like just chilling, you know, a little steady 1K run, is it? Everyone gets caught up in everything that's going on. So everyone's pushing their limits. So then it becomes tough. So taking you back to when you were saying about making your eye patch for your eye and like training and things, what was training like getting through like the first like 6 to 12 months, and how is your eye now? Are you
so the first 6 to 12 months were really frustrating. I do get really frustrated because I struggle to sit still. So like I said, with that fatigue as well, it was someone had taught me the spoon theory. Like, you've got a handful of spoons, like 10 spoons, and each activity costs a certain number of spoons. So you had to I had to really live by that. You know, if I'm going to train today, then that's going to cost me 3, 4, 5 spoons, and then I've only got 5 spoons left for the rest of the day. So where do I really want to make this, and how much can I commit right now? That training with everything else I've got to do. So it was really hard to kind of, like I said, adjust to that new normal, and very frustrating, because I just want to push the whole time, but my body just didn't want to let me do that at that time. So I had to be really patient. So I spent a good 6 to 8 months really frustrated with myself. But then I think signing up for the Hyrox and having a goal like that then made me look to the horizon a little bit more, rather than be frustrated for myself in the moment. I was just able to appreciate a bit of a bigger picture. So I had to be patient, and then, yeah, setting that goal sort of long term was instrumental really in enabling me to sort of focus and develop certain skills I hadn't, you know, looked at sort of even do it. I'd never sat on a rower, I'd never skied, I'd never thrown a wall ball, I'd never done any of it. So yeah, I had to kind of make peace quite quickly with those kind of things. My eye now is up and down. It's probably the one thing that I have issues with the most. I get a lot of swelling still there, and I have like a protrusion out here. I can't feel any of this part of my head. And I do get visual disturbances, particularly when I get tired. If I go on the ski for a long time, it makes me really dizzy. So sometimes I'll do sort of zone 2 sessions, and I've had to lay off the running a little bit. So I'll go on the rower, on the bike, and on the ski, and I think, well, probably I hate the ski so much, but I think it's probably good to get some good muscle memory and stuff going. So let's go on the ski for a bit. And by the time I come off, I'm like, oh my good Lord, that is, yeah. So I need to take a moment to reorientate myself. And there's some things I can't do, like inversions. I used to do a lot of inversions in yoga and things, but the rush of blood to the head, so any of those handstand walks or push-ups and stuff, like, that's a no-go for me. I look at these CrossFitters and I think, how do you do that? I probably could have done it anyway, but now I'm like, oh, I really can't do it now. So yeah, every day is just, I just have to kind of wake up and think, well, how do I feel? Sometimes I have a bit of a muzzy head or a headache, but I guess they're kind of part and parcel of life for me now. So I just get on with it.
It's like your new norm. I guess. And do you have somebody that helps you do training, or do you do your training and then you see how you feel like each day as to whether you can put in a higher intensity session or whether you're just going to do a steadier zone 2 session? How do you navigate the training?
So when I first signed up to Hyrox, I did my own training. So from the December, I actually broke my foot in the middle of the training as well, so I couldn't do London Olympia. I completely gutted my gym, because I was always humming and hawing. Like, I had like a corner of my kitchen where all my kit was. It was just really frustrating, and I thought, you know, I need all this equipment. I need a bit more. I need some more toys. So I sort of gutted my garage and then kitted it out and stuff. And then I was being an idiot in there, and I had some ropes where I was spinning around, pretending I was a gymnast, and then span around and kicked the concrete, because I didn't have any flooring down at the time, and I kicked the concrete floor. Wow. So I broke my foot and then couldn't do Olympia. So I ended up doing the Excel in the November in London. So I pushed the straight. So I had like 10 months between when I signed up and then when I did my first Hyrox. But obviously from, I think it was about May to November is when I could actually train. So I did all of my own training then. But yeah, I mean, I tried to get a really good level of kind of like 60-70% zone 2 stuff, while I was just trying to build that base back up to make sure that I could do those higher intensity sessions. And if I did a threshold run session or any kind of intense running, it would wipe me out. So I had to be really mindful of how I planned those sessions. So when I qualified in November of last year, I thought, I'm going to put myself in a hole if I don't get some help here, because the demands of obviously doing it at the pro weight, coupled with the crazy competitive internal edge that I've got, I knew that I would be grossly injured or just completely burnt out by the time I got there. And also mentally, I think, questioning myself a lot more. So I got Jade Skillen, I sent her a message and said, you know, can I sort of join any programs and stuff? So we chatted and stuff. And she said, you'll be great for this program. And it allows you to peak for worlds. So brilliant. So I now don't have any of the headache of the planning sessions. She maps out, she looked at my splits and said, I knew where I needed work anyway. So she kind of, the program was geared towards me building up strength and my runs. So the headache of that is all taken away, and it's planned out nicely. So I get those periods of rest. There's a fair bit of zone 2 work in there as well, that easy stuff, which is nice. But sometimes I second guess and think, am I doing enough? Because you see all these people, you know, balls deep every day on Instagram, but I know that my body can't sustain that. So I just have to, I trust the process and allow that recovery time in between as well, particularly more so probably for me, where I need that longer recovery to allow my body to kind of level set and be able to go again on the sessions that are hard, that are going to move the needle. So yeah,
I think that's a good point though, like trust the process. I think a lot of people do find it difficult to, and especially with races when they're coming up and there's a taper and everyone's like, oh my God, a taper, it means I'm going to lose all my fitness and I'm not training how I usually, but your body does need that time, and you need to listen to your body as well. And especially everyone being in different like situations, everyone's got different backgrounds, different things that they're dealing with, and you need to work out what's best for you. And like what do they say, comparison is the thief of joy. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's true, it is, because you then are so worried about what everyone else is doing that you're not focusing on what you're doing. And like you just said, your body needs the recovery, like, because otherwise you'll hit the fatigue and then potentially get injured, or you can't go and smash a 40-minute threshold session on a skier because you'll probably be done for like weeks and weeks. So there's no point like looking at someone else think, oh, I should do that because they've done that. Like you have to kind of be on your own journey, and it's working. It's got you to worlds and you're smashing it.
I was quite shocked. We were in the car on the way home and my daughter was looking through, my brother was messaging me at the time. He was looking at I didn't have any clue about this. My uncle and auntie came to watch me as well, and he said, you're currently sitting, you know, X in out of how many people? And I was like, what? You that must be wrong. There must be like thousands of people ready to go after me. And then I got the email through on the Tuesday and I was literally like, this is bonkers. Like my goal was get 120. I thought that was a pretty lofty goal. I was like, yes, that feels good to me. And then I absolutely smashed it, and then got this email. So I was so surprised. And also that I think I listened to one of your podcasts as well, and you were like, oh yeah, we were having a right jolly on the runs. This is exactly what I was doing. And I was like using my runs as recovery. And I was just like going around, I saw my daughter and I was like, why? And then I thought, no, this time round, I need to, if it does not hurt when I'm running, then I am not running fast enough. So
and it's Jade was the one that said to us, she was like, you did what? And we were like, you know, like we did the station, then we went for a jog round and recovered, ready for the next station. She's like, you what? and now you've got Jade, so I feel like if Jade's your coach and she's getting you on the runs, you're not going to be having a chilled run at the next race you're going to.
No. And judging by the number of runs I've got in this week as well, she's like, she's on it. So
she's got your number, hasn't she? She's
yeah. But it's so good because I was, you know, battling with these the shin splints all the time. I didn't really get a feel for, you know, this is my threshold pace and this is what it feels like to run at this pace. And I've gained not only physically, but I've become so much more in tune with my body, and, you know, this is what pace I can sustain for this period of time. And I know how that feels. So I've learned so much just on, you know, the 18 months that I've been training like this. And that's incredible. And I love listening to like podcasts like yours, and there's a couple of other podcasts I listen to, like sports psychology and physiology and stuff. So I love to geek out about that kind of stuff as well. So when I'm on my treadmill, I'm thinking, this hurts. and then I'm thinking about the metabolism bit about it. I'm like, it hurts because of this, so just hold on for another, you know, period of time, and then you get through that. And then, so I'm constantly thinking about stuff like that as well, but learning so much as I'm moving through this process and understanding more about my body and how it works. So yeah, it's just awesome.
That's quite a good one to lead on to then, the mental like strength that you have. And you just said there on the treadmill, you think about the reasons why you're doing it, and that helps you push through. Is that generally, are you quite like a stats data person? You like to know the reasons behind why you're doing it and it helps you do it? Or do you think back about maybe where you were and the fact that you couldn't do it? Does that help push you through when things get tough? How do you find that mental strength?
Yeah, both of those things really. I'm a scientist by training, so data and stats and all that kind of geeky stuff. Like I love I think is it Rock's Life or Rock's Zone, where he's like Science Sunday, and I'm like, yes,
yeah.
So
they level that Nathan is it that gets all the stats. He's like,
yeah. And then they've got so much geeky stuff on there that you can like, and I'll be like, oh, you know, if I do this, and so I kind of like map out. But when I get into a race, I'm like, that all goes out the window. I can't even remember what times I've written down, but I like to think, you know, is that achievable? Can I do this, this, and this? Looking at like kind of median data and that spread and stuff. So that's quite nice. I like looking at that, and that enables me to that mental preparation piece of, you know, this is a pace I can achieve, so I can achieve this kind of time, making that mental prep there. But also I think navigating that journey that I have before, even way before the brain tumor, you know, raising my children as a single mum, holding down a full-time job, navigating COVID on my own with all three of them, and homeschooling, and the chaos of holding down a job. It was just like DEFCON level 5 of chaos. If that's
well harder than a Hyrox.
So I guess like I built up quite a lot of mental strength. I had no choice. Well, you do. You either fold or you turn up every day. And there was no way. I'm not a person that gives up. You make it hard for me, and I dig in harder. So that's kind of how I'm wired, and I've always been wired like that. So that mental strength I think was there before, and then going through that brain tumor diagnosis and the surgery and recovery was even more so of like, I can do really hard things, and you never know how brave you can be until you have to be, and there is no choice. So you've got two pathways you can take. You turn up every day and you be the best you can, or you completely fold and you follow that victim mentality, and that road is never an option for me. So having built up that mental resilience and stuff beforehand, I know I've got everything inside me that I could possibly need to be able to complete that. And not completing a Hyrox is not an option. Even if I was army crawling over the line, I would be doing it. So yeah, that I think it's, you know, 90% of it, once you get past a certain point, you know, once you get past that sled push, you're then thinking, this is, I can do this. And I do that in my sessions, you know, when it's god awfully painful, when it's, you know, it hurts, and I think, you know, I can do this. I've trained for this. My body can do this. I've proved I can do this. So I kind of have to pep talk myself and then the other little whingy part of me will go, oh no, it's too hard, you can't. And then the other part of me says, yes you can, and it's saying, we'll run a little bit faster now because you're whinging, so let's get this done, or we'll put another plate on the bar and you do another couple of reps because you can do this and you can do more. And I think only where you put that bar is where your limits are. So I really genuinely don't think that people have limits. Is if they're, you know, willing to put in the work and push that bar forward, then you can be stratospheric in where you land.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. What about top tips for Hyrox? Do you have any top tips to give our listeners? From your experience, is there anything you personally really like to use, whether it's in race or in training, or anything that helps you continue getting up and doing what you do every day?
As a novice, really, comparatively to many of the people, and I mean even to you guys, one thing I did overlook that was game changing for me was salts. So
good one.
I completely, hydration, nutrition, sleep, yada yada, spacing out training sessions. And I was thinking, why am I so wiped out? And I was getting a bit irritable, and I felt foggy. And I thought, well, maybe that's just, sometimes I feel foggy, and trying to sort of string a sentence together is a bit of an issue, especially with what has happened. So I just thought it's part and parcel of that. And then I'd listened to a podcast from Andy Galpin, who's an awesome guy, and he was talking about salt replenishment, and I just thought, that's it. I sweat. You can literally follow me around the gym by my sweat trail. It's disgusting. So I sweat loads, so I'm replacing that fluid, but I just wasn't replacing the salt, and that drop in that salt level was just crazy. And I eat a really clean diet, as I'm sure many of your listeners do. Obviously I have the treats and bits and pieces, but my diet isn't solely, pizza and chips and that kind of thing. And I wasn't I don't ever add any salt to my food. And I was standing up, I was getting really lightheaded. And I went to the doc about something related to this, and he said, try adding salt in, and unbelievable. So now I'll salt my food. I do put a little bit of rock salt. If I've had a big session, I'll put a bit of rock salt in my squash, my water or something. I don't like those electrolyte tablets because they taste a bit funky. I haven't yet found one that I like. So I just make sure I do that, and then that just changed everything. So I don't ever suffer from that anymore because of that piece. So if you don't pay attention to that, then make sure that that's something. If you're starting to feel a bit funky, then that's something you could probably look at. Coconut water is really good for putting potassium back in as well. So
I gave that to Em once.
I agree, but I just can't do it.
I gave it to Em after a really long run, and she was like, what the hell is that? She will not touch it. I was like, it's really good, post run, get it in you. And she just was like,
no, I fully agree that it's good. It's one thing. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
There's one thing you should try then. I tried because we kept getting ill, so I thought I'll try these super green drinks. People keep raving about. So I'll get these, and then I made it, and I was like, it smells like pond water, and I was like, I'm sure it doesn't taste as bad, it'll be fine. So I'd sipped it, and I was like, oh god, no, it tastes worse than it looks. And it is vile, it's absolutely vile. So I literally there drinking this stuff, I was like, this is just not right. What am I doing here? Surely there's a better hobby I could have. If you think coconut water is gross, you haven't tried that. You should
it's like spirulina, isn't it? I'm not a fan of that either, but the things we do, the things we do, try and help. Okay, any other tips?
I did think of one. The rep piece. So obviously wall balls, with the pro division, it's 100 wall balls, or you've got X distance to go with your farmers carries and stuff, and the farmers carries is one thing I absolutely hate. But with reps and stuff, I guess you think, I'll do 20 at the outset, and then I'll split it up like this. But I suppose for me, so this morning I was doing wall balls, and I thought I've got 25 in me, but then it's going, well, actually, let's just do one more rep, and then one more after that, and then by the not stopping on that even rep, not stopping at 100 meters at farmers carry, not stopping at 20, not stopping at 10, going that little bit extra and squeezing that a little bit more out. And then psychologically, to me, that's like, I've only got 8 more to do before I'm at the next 10, and that kind of thing. And I've only got 19 more meters rather than the 20. So it completely psychological games with myself all the time when I'm doing these training things. So I've found that really, really helpful. And to not look at the big picture. So particularly in a race where I'm not on my first run thinking about the wall balls. I'm like, right, this run is going to take me, 4:30, and then I'm on the ski, and that's it. That's as far as I think. And then when I'm off the ski, I'm on the next run. I'm like, right, now I'm only just thinking about that small section, and that really helps to, okay, this is how long it's going to be, and that's a doable amount of time, 10 minutes. And then you're on to the next piece, which is then, you know, so breaking it up in those little chunks, I think psychologically, get your own psychological mind games that you can play with yourself that are really effective to helping you build that mindset. Because I think once you think you can't do it, that's it, it's game over.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, you can't let that come into it, because then you're fighting a losing battle there. You've got to just find the little wins. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next up for you is the World Champs.
Yep.
And then have you got anything booked after that, or are you waiting to see how that goes, take a bit of a deload, bit of recovery afterwards, and see where you want to go from there?
Yeah, I am looking forward to giving the legs a bit of a well-needed break after Worlds. I'll keep some pretty low intensity stuff, I think, up, and just do the odd sort of circuit session and stuff just because I enjoy them, and then get ready for the next season. My brother was supposed to do Olympia in May, but he's injured, so I kind of talked him round to not doing that. So I didn't think it was very wise of him to be doing an open and then having a really negative experience in your first Hyrox. So I said, hey, let's do Birmingham doubles together. And I've been fishing someone to do doubles with me for ages, and no one's insane enough to try it. So he thought, yeah, okay, so we're going to do doubles together in Birmingham. And then I want to try, when they release the date again for London Excel, which is usually in November, I want to do that. And I also want to do one abroad. They look quite fun. So
make a good weekend of it. I feel like everyone's making a good city break.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's where.
Before Em moves on to the cheeky insights, I was just wondering, day to day, do you have much like treatment? Do you have to do any so now going forward, obviously you had the surgery and that was successful, but like going forward now, do you have to balance much with like day to day like medication, or like do you have any more operations coming up, or is this you just check in with your do you say neurosurgeon? Neurosurgeon. I was like, neuroscientist doesn't sound right. Yeah, do you just have are you just on a program checking in with them, or how does that work going forward for you, just like day to day balance?
So day to day now, I don't have any treatment. I was on steroids to, you know, keep swelling and seizures and stuff in hand, and then some other meds and bits and pieces, but now I'm completely off those, and they call it watchful waiting. So I have regular scans on my brain there's a section of residual tumor, so they want to see how quickly it will regrow, and then we decide the treatment path moving forward, and we interject only when it's necessary, because obviously opening that up is not a viable thing. So then it will be radiotherapy next, as the next treatment option. But no one really knows how long that would be. It might be 3 years' time, it might be 30 years' time. So just keeping in tip-top condition, you know, and being able to be fit and healthy and turn up as best I can be when that situation does arrive is all I can do. But I have different teams I see. So I see my neurosurgeon for my brain, and obviously it was in my eye. And it's like complex. I didn't realize the eye was so complex. So there's 3 different teams I see that look at my eyes, so the vision stuff, and then there's a squint team or orthotics team that look at the muscles in the eye, and then there's the structure team. So I have appointments with them as well. So when those follow-ups roll back around, it is quite exhausting, having to navigate it all. When I hate MRI scans with a passion, because not only are they really enclosed, when they do a head MRI, they put a cage around.
Oh, really?
It's just like here, yeah. So I've got this whole routine now where I can kind of cope with it all, but not a nice experience. And that's again, that mental resilience is like, okay, find a place and just keep my cool and not lose my shit in tiny machine. Get me out.
I think the fact you're doing everything, it's like you said before about controlling the controllables. You're doing everything you can to be as fit and as healthy as you can, and giving yourself the goals of Hyrox and qualifying for the Worlds, and leading by example, and taking all your superfoods on, and your salts and your greens. It's basically how everyone should try and live their life. And sometimes it takes some people a shock or something to happen to do it, but it's
definitely.
you're living proof that it's like the best way forward, and look what you can achieve by setting your mindset to it.
Yeah, and it was only until I was truly backed into a corner that I thought, do you know what, I need to do stuff about this, and that's when I need to level up and turn up, and not let life pass me by, and just do everything in my power that I have to be in optimal condition for anything should it happen in the future, and also have a bloody good time, like living my life. I see something and I want to do it, I'm like, do you know what, I'm going to do that.
And do you feel fitter now before, like now you're doing her, like do you feel fitter now or before your surgery?
I feel, and so like I look back to when I was 18, I'm like, oh my good lord, I could, we had a reunion for university and people were like, what on earth? Where are you training? I was
That's
like,
amazing.
So I feel great. I feel unstoppable, really. Obviously there are days when I'm like, oh man, like I feel like I've been hit by a truck, but you kind of have to take those days and not beat yourself up and dwell on it and ruminate on it for too long, and then move forward and get on with the next day and turn up and try and be your best. And no,
I think it's really important point, like, and control what you can control. It's very inspirational that you have taken this situation and this is what you've like taken from it, to be the best you can be and the healthiest you can be and give your body the best chance. Like, I think it's a great story, and you're doing all the right things. You're doing all that you can do, like, and giving yourself the best chance that if it does reoccur and you do need to go back in for radiation or therapy or anything, then at least you're going in with the mindset as well that you've got the healthiest body that you have, and that'll surely be a win in mentally as well when it does happen.
Definitely. I'm not going down without a fight, that's for sure.
No, absolutely. Okay, should we go on to the cheeky insights?
Let's do it.
Okay, first question is, what shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
So I have Saucony Endorphin Elites. Now this is before I even knew that Saucony was a Hyrox thing. So I've always run in Saucony, and I just love them, absolutely love them. My brother put me onto carbon plate shoes, and I thought, I'm not gonna do that. And then I tried them, and now I'm a complete trainer snob. I can't run in anything else but a carbon plate. So I ordered a load from the internet, and I mean a load. The box was enormous. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna try a load and find my shoe. So I went through loads and loads of different brands, but every time I just came back to Saucony. I thought, these just feel delicious. Like, they're really light, they're really responsive, they're just so that's my race day shoe. But I do have a bit of a penchant for trainers, so I've got, like, in my gym kind of lined up along the wall, so it depends what I'm doing as to which ones I pick. I've got a pair of Puma, is it the Nitro DV8? I've got a pair of those. They're quite nice and stable, so when I want to do a bit of a ploddy run, I'll wear those, and then if I want to do weights and kind of things, I'll choose some more stable shoes. But my Saucony Endorphin Elites are my race shoe.
They're the ones. They're a popular choice. They are, definitely. Which venue is your favorite Hyrox venue? How many of you?
I've only done Excel.
So
Excel.
But maybe we need to ask you this question after you've done World Champs, and then you have the comparison to see which one you prefer. Although, will anything better the World Champs atmosphere? Maybe not. I don't know.
Don't think so. I really don't think so. And I was like, no, this is the pinnacle. This is the peak. How am I going to move forward from here? So I'm excited to see what it looks like. It looks like an awesome venue as well, and obviously Nice. I'm glad, no disrespect to Manchester, but when I looked at last year's venue, I was like, oh, Manchester, cool venue, but still Nice. We get to go to France, so this is cool. So,
exactly. At least you can make a holiday out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, what's your favorite Hyrox station and why?
I love the row. So when I'd never sat on a rower before, and when I first sat on the rower, I was like, what the hell is this? This is awful. And my friend spoke and said, what's your 500 split? And I told him, and he was like, what? You need to get a lot quicker than that. And I was like, oh, okay. So when I'd completely demolished my my garage, the first bit of kit I bought was a rower, and he said, you've bought a rower but you hate it. I was like, I've got to nail this. So when I broke my foot, the only thing I could do was row. So I had a skateboard underneath my boot that I'd secured on. And then I became like 6 weeks of just solid rowing. So I became an absolute rowing machine. And I was doing
hilarious.
2Ks at like 7:40. So I was like, this is, I didn't realize. And then I looked and I was like, oh, that's a pretty impressive time. So yeah, I just love the row, but I also like the wall balls. Sadistically, I just, yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, those two are my favorites.
Suffer at the end, just get it done.
Yeah, you don't have to run after it either, so
yeah,
it's like all there. Yeah.
Okay, next one is, if you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Oh, I don't know if anyone that I would want to do a Hyrox with I could keep up with, but I'd love to do it with Danielle Brandon.
Fair.
Yeah, she's an absolute machine. She's a bit of a girl crush of mine, but yeah, that would be awesome to do. I think those CrossFitters would be unreal. Yeah, I'd get her pushing the sled for sure.
Yeah, I know. She would be ninja. She's really good at handstand walking as well, isn't she?
Yeah,
I don't think you need. Yeah, if that ever came in.
Yeah,
she's the partner you want.
Yeah.
Okay, do you fuel for your Hyrox race, and if so, when do you take it during?
I do, but I don't think, personally, I don't think you need to if you're doing it like less than, you know, kind of 120. I don't think you really truly need to, but I noticed when I was training for those longer sessions, Hyrox sessions and stuff, my perceived effort and my output was a lot, it did fall. So I started to experiment with fueling in training, and I found that it did work, whether it's a placebo or not. I took it. So I do take something with me, and I take it either after the burpee broad jumps or just as I'm going into the row. So kind of on the halfway point, which I think is where most people do it. I don't think you really truly need it, because you've got enough glycogen muscle stores and liver stores, but that mechanism switches on way before they get depleted. So if I can interfere with that signaling pathway, I'm all for it. So I do take it, and I do notice a big difference of just being able to sustain the paces and stuff. So yeah. Is
it just a gel you have, or sweets, or
yeah, I've switched up the typing because I bought a goo gel. So it was a salted caramel. I thought, oh, that sounds nice. But when I took it on the run, I was like it's like a really thick syrup. So it was not the most digestible.
It's trial and error, isn't it? It's like find the one that works for you, and then once you found it, usually everyone just sticks with it, don't they? They're like, that works.
So not a goo gel. I wouldn't recommend them. Though nice as they are not very palatable when you were like, my mouth was so dry anyway.
Yeah, and then you put that in. Oh
yeah, not good.
What's your favorite type of training session for Hyrox?
I like like a hybrid circuit where I'm doing lots of different things. Running mixed in with some weights, mixed in with some skill set stuff. So I really enjoy those. I could do those all day long. But sadistically, I've started to enjoy some of the track sessions that I've had put in. So there was a 20 times 400, which I was dreading for that entire week, but I absolutely loved it. I don't know why. It was just great fun. So I suppose I have a love-hate relationship. I look at them and I hate them, but when I do them and when I'm doing them, I'm loving them. So
you get a good sense of like satisfaction from a session like that, I think.
Yeah. This feels unachievable, but then when you do it, it's really rewarding. So
yeah, totally. Okay, why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox?
Because life's too short. And you can always just be saying, oh, it looks so, if something inspires you to, you know, engage with that post on Instagram or follow these people on Instagram, just, do you know what, just do it. It's not an easy thing to do. I think having that acceptance of that, you know, it's going to be pushing your boundaries, but life is way too short to have any regrets at the end of it and think, oh, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done that. So now if I get any kind of inkling of this looks good, just go for it. So yeah, just do it. Yeah.
Love that. I think that's the best answer we've had to that question so far. And lastly, is there anyone that you would love us to get onto our podcast so that you could listen to their story or journey or tips?
You had on Beck Mason, so she was someone that I really wanted to listen to, because as a mum, as someone that battles injuries as well, I was really interested to listen to what she had to say and how she balances it all. And that was a fantastic podcast. I love listening to her. I think she's an incredible human being. But anyone of that ilk, like for me, having someone that has to juggle motherhood with training, with, you know, running a business or working full time, I just find those people fascinating, and their journey as well. So anybody like that, I know like Meg Jacoby is a huge inspiration for me. She's an absolute boss, and she smashes it out of the park, and she's like an awesome mum as well. So someone like her would be cool to listen to. Or obviously Lauren Weeks, amazing human being as well. So
they're so inspiring, and their time management must be unbelievable to fit everything in. But it's incredible. Anyone, I think, like just trying to juggle their job, whether and the kids and time and training, and you know, life does get in the way, but if you can prioritize it and then build up to that level, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is like the 4 a.m. get-ups, because you know, you kind of, how am I going to fit all this in? So this goes here, and that like military level of precision and planning and stuff. These girls also seem like amazingly beautiful, nice human beings, and having that positive, wonderful energy around it. Like in the Hyrox community, it was really lovely in London. Everyone was really supportive and encouragement. It was just nice to be around. It didn't seem like a really competitive, angsty, you know, when we're all standing in the tunnel, there was just this nice vibe, despite the, you know, the horrendous music that plays and, you know, the countdown that literally makes my adrenal glands go. Just being around those women, it was just nice. And like at the end, like people saying, oh no, how did you, like people you'd met in the queue, how did you do? And you know, seeing people on the track that were walking, I was like, come on, and then they'd start running, and it was just such a lovely atmosphere. So yeah, I love the community. So yeah, it's just nice to see women like that. But yeah, anybody like that, it would be lovely to listen to.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think we're along the same lines, and I think it's nice to speak to different people from the Hyrox community that are, you know, everyone knows how hard it is to fit in all the training and how hard the races are. So it's quite nice to see how everyone does it and what everyone's dealing with and how they're getting through it, including yourself and how you've juggled the last few years, and being a single mom and having like a crazy career and going through everything you've gone through, but still qualifying for Nice in a few weeks' time. It's massive kudos to you. Where can everyone find you, Gemma, if people want to follow the rest of your journey and go through Nice and see how you get on at the World Champs? Where's the best place for people to follow you?
I'm on Instagram. If you want to be bored to tears, you can follow me. It's Gemma_Isla, ISLA. The content isn't the most riveting. I'm sure there's more interesting things you could follow, but that's probably the best place. I sort of tend to post bits and pieces about what I'm doing of sessions and that kind of thing. But in no way do I proclaim to be an influencer or a PT or anything like that. So
oh no, you gave me some motivation. We were talking at the beginning and I was like, should I go for my run before the podcast or after? And then I went on Instagram and you were like smashing it out this morning, and I was like, oh damn, I feel like I should have gone before, because now we're going to go to the podcast and you just like repped out an awesome session, and I'm sitting here thinking I really should have gone and done my run.
It's that, but there's no ahead, like threshold runs. I was like, I need to get these out of the way, because you're looming over me all day long if not. So
oh no, fantastic. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and fitting us in. We can't wait to see how you get on at the World Champs in a few weeks' time. For anyone that's listening, if you want to follow Gemma's journey, please go and like head over to her Instagram, give this a share, say hi at World Champs, and and follow us on Instagram at Chix, and we will obviously be sharing everything as it comes up to Nice World Champs. And until next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Gemma.
Thank you.